Hello and welcome back, everybody. We are live once again with commentary for Torque Racing, coming to you from the legendary Spa here in Belgium. Practice is just about wrapping up here, and drivers are getting those final few laps in here. So things should be coming into store for us here shortly with qualifying. Buggy, thank you for the sub. Welcome back into the sub tier as well. And then welcome in to everybody who's just joining. Looks like Matty Ice is hanging out here for the first time in chat finally. Darth Vader, another newcomer, so welcome in. If this is your first time and wondering how all of this works, well, pretty straightforward here. This evening we will have 3 different driver classes participating here as usual with Torque. We've got our amateur, our pro-am, and our pro drivers. Sonos, welcome in. Happy to see you in here as always. But as I was saying, we do have 3 driver tiers here in Torque Racing with the AM drivers, which you can see here with the red background. So that is going to be only about 4 drivers: Azteca, Bongit, Atomic Hippo, and then it has myself, but we're trying something new this week, so realistically it is 3 drivers that are still in the amateur class. The Pro-Am class is going to be the drivers with the silver background, and then the Pro class is the drivers with that white background. So the way qualifying is going to work this evening is drivers are going to head out, which they are doing now, and we are going to switch things up here. And the amateur and pro-am drivers are going to head out first. Qualifying's a little bit longer here because Belgium or Spa is a little bit longer of a track. So it is going to take them about 2 minutes and 17 seconds for a fast lap. Average lap time, I'm going to say, is about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So qualifying's been bumped up by about 5 minutes to 20 minutes tonight. And we'll see who can take this one. In the meantime, let's go over some details here. If you're not familiar with Spa and how this one really works, we have quite a historic circuit here, and one of the most notable turns in all of racing, and that is the uphill turn of Eau Rouge, which kind of goes into almost a valley and then comes right back up, very high speed, and it can be also a treacherous one, especially in traffic, so pay attention there, especially near the start of the race tonight. That is going to be key as the cars are really bunched up. If they get too spread out, though, we only have about 20 drivers here tonight, so most of the drivers should be spread out, but if we do get into a lap traffic scenario, lap traffic is going to be a huge thing here, and Eau Rouge is going to be the big one to really pay attention to. So 19 turns in total here in Spa, a single lap of 4.34 miles, just over 7 kilometers. And tonight's race is still 45 minutes, even though qualifying's been extended, so no additional time for the actual full-length race here. The bus stop chicane, the final 2 corners, another one really to pay attention to tonight. That one's going to be really tricky, if I'm honest. It is very slow in a high braking situation. And you can actually see Bongit coming into that bus stop right now. There's pit entry on the right. And this is set up more with the F1 or WEC pit layout and not the endurance layout. So the pit lane is shorter here. If you join me this Friday, I am set up to do the 24 hours of Spa with a few friends of mine, so make sure you check that out. Should be live around 6 p.m. Eastern time on iRacing. A couple of the guys from Crashing with the Boys, and I will be tackling the 24 hours here. The first flying lap's officially underway here. And Pale Batman is the one leading us here on the first flying lap. We'll see what he can do. That timer in the top right is not going to reflect his current lap time. That is the total time on track here. That is a great call out in chat, Sonos. And I feel like I've never been able to properly pronounce the name of the mountain range that they're in. I'm going to take my best shot at it here. The Ardinian Mountains. But with that, our first flying lap getting ready to come to an end here. Pale Batman through turn 16 and 17 here. That dog leg left, very high speed. The curbs can be treacherous, especially on the inside curb at that high speed dog leg. And you get too much curbing there and it's going to upset the suspension. And now coming to the line, we will see a lap time of 2:20.612. Not a bad pace here, if I do say so myself, for a GT car around Spa. It is about 15 seconds off a lap time for the F1 cars. Those are generally pulling about 2:05 to 2:10 roughly. It looks like FHM J-Dog is on circuit as well. He is sitting in P5 at the moment at 2:21.220. So we'll see if he can improve it all here. Atomic Hippo in 7th place now, 2:21.020. The lap times remaining relatively close here. Unfortunately, we have to cycle through these one at a time here. Cool Whip has taken over preliminary pole for the moment and breaks the 220 threshold for the first time so far tonight, a 2:19.5 flat. So that is going to be the fast lap to beat at the moment. So we'll see if Pale Batman can come up with anything here to get under that 220 threshold. It's not an easy task if you haven't spent a ton of time here, and depending on your setup as well. The setups here in Spa can be very tricky for the GT cars. Too much downforce, and you can take advantage of the corners, but you lose a lot of top speed, and there are some very high speed sections of the circuit, especially the Kemmel Straight after Eau Rouge. And that final stretch, which we will see Pale Batman coming up to right now. If I can cycle to him, there he is. Out of turn 15. And looks like he's found a little bit of pace here, up on his lap time by about a 1/10. Just a smidge over, but now starting to lose a little too early on the brakes coming into turn 18. Now picking that time back up just a little bit, and now starting to lose it, so we may still see some improvement. And in fact, we do a 2:20.605, but that keeps him in P4 at the moment. And it looks like we're only going to get about 2 laps of qualifying here on this circuit for this first group. Maybe 3 if Pale Batman can finish this one out. We'll see if there's any improvement at the end of this one for him. Meanwhile, Cool Whip now coming through turns 16 and 17, coming up to the final chicane. Number 3 BMW, currently your pole sitter. Just under 12.5 minutes still to go in qualifying. The pro drivers will head out of pit lane in just under 2.5 minutes. And no improvement for Cool Whip, who has now fallen to P2. And Coma Copa has taken over preliminary pole now in the 72 with a 2:19.457. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to see the track or air temps, Sonos, with the way the console version of Assetto Corsa is set up. There is no telemetry output whatsoever from the console version. So, let's check one thing here real quick. Actually, we do have air temp. 15 degrees centigrade for the air temp and 21 degrees for the track surface. So unfortunately, I do have to go into that menu in order to see it, so Yeah, absolutely. Temperature range is pretty nominal there. It is a little bit overcast and cloudy, it looks like, but the air temp and track temp kind of in that ideal range where you'd want to kind of really see everything. For those of you that are not familiar with the metric system for air temperature in Celsius, 15 degrees Celsius is 59 degrees Fahrenheit, and 21 degrees is just under 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Engines are going to be very happy with the cooler temperatures. The track surface is not going to be quite as grippy as it would be if it was warmer, but still solid air temperature and track surface temperatures. Those will come up as the race progresses, especially the track surface temperature, as we are now down to the final 10 minutes. And our friend Azteca in the 169 Mustang coming out of turn 19 here. His fastest, a 2:20.302, places him in 6th out of this grouping here so far. Does not see any improvement there. Now our pro drivers begin to head out to circuit, and the Pro-Am and Am drivers will wrap up their laps here. These will be their final ones as long as they cross that finish line before that 10-minute mark. Yeah, I'm not sure, because I know ACC Console Edition Sonos does have a lot of the same functionality. However, consoles don't have the same button mapping options unless you can find a way to incorporate like a keyboard. But standard wheels for both PlayStation and Xbox limit you to about 12 mapping inputs, including throttle and steering. So not sure that we're going to see anybody who's set up any sort of setups to make any adjustments. Everything's going to be down to the vehicle setup in the garage. So we'll see if anybody's made any changes there that may benefit them. And it looks like Matty Ice is going to try to close out this lap here. We'll see if there's any improvement. He is half a second up on his lap time coming up to the final chicane here. 2:19.742 his fast lap, currently in P5. And we'll see if there's any change here as he comes to the line. And he does cross the line with a 2:19.322, good enough to take over second in this grouping. And we'll see where that actually gets him to start the race once the pro drivers get their first lap times in. Senna 509 kind of staying on track here, currently in P11. And we'll see him close up this lap. He's 0.6 up. He'll go from a 2:21.287 to a 2:20.725 and takes over 11th now. Meanwhile, Snakebite will be the first pro driver to start a flying lap with Oil Slick just in tow behind. So the 69 Ferrari and the 661 BMW lead things here for the next group. Just about 7.5 minutes still to go in qualifying. And we've actually seen quite a solid performance from Snakebite here in the current season. We'll see if that continues to stay in his favor. A little high on the curbing there at the end of the Kemmel Straight at turn 5 and 6. Now through turn number 8 and the begin of the descent here down the hillside. Running out a little wide there. Doesn't look like he went full track limits, but very close. Very high speed double apex left turn here at turn 10 and 11. Let's see here, one of our new reviews here, thanks to the courtesy of Hail Batman helping us out. Now down to 6 minutes still left on the session timer. See that gap for about 3 seconds on track surface here between Snakebite and Oil Slick behind. 3 seconds doesn't seem like a lot of time. That is a very big visual difference. Now through the final chicane here, we will see what Snakebite has in store for his first flying lap. And he will cross with a 2:18.142. We'll see if that stays the pole time or not. We have seen a few drivers getting into the 2:17s, including Bubble and Panda. Oil Slick will not have a valid last lap, so the 2:19.072 gets invalidated, likely due to track limits. Kick and Joe Mama sitting in 10th place currently, 2:19.895 in the 33 Mercedes. Sucka 509 holds on to 3rd place in the 34 GTR, the only Nissan, I believe, in the entire field here. We don't see a lot of the Nissans making up this grouping. Seeing things? Okay. I think that was just the draw distance. It looked interesting. I thought I saw rain falling there behind Sucka 509, but not the case. That's what I thought as well as Tekka was the rain, but I do believe it was just the console rendering distance. It was throwing off the view. And HTI Danger in the 78 Mustang, now sitting in P5 here. Another top performer we've seen a lot out of from Danger here this season, as well as last season. And he sits in P5 with a 2:18.875. We are now less than 4 minutes to go, coming up on 3.5 minutes now. And your current preliminary pole sitter, the 71 Mustang of Bubble and Panda with a 2:18.055. He is about half a second up currently on his lap time. However, Snakebite is about to improve his lap time just shy of 4.5 tenths, it looks like here, 2:17.777. And that will be good enough for pole position at the moment. And Oil Slick will run another invalid lap, so he has not got a clean lap on the board yet. And currently sits all the way at the rear of the grid. And here comes Bubble and Panda into the bus stop chicane. He is 7.5 tenths. Make that 8.5 tenths now. And we're going to see a pretty solid lap out of him here. This is going to be a low 2:17, I think. And a 2:17.342. Taking over pole position for the time being. 2.5 minutes still to go. So everyone's going to get at least one more lap in here. Snakebite is going to be the one who has the greatest opportunity here. He's already about almost halfway through his lap, and there's still 2 minutes and 17 seconds left on the timer. And he may have invalidated his lap there. The timer has turned red for his lap time. He is also 6 tenths off pace. I do not believe this lap is going to count for him. He currently sits in P2, though. So still a solid starting position for him if he can hold on to this. The big one to watch, though, is Oil Slick here in the 661. We saw a pretty strong outing from him last week in Spain at Catalunya. However, the decision for this pit strategy ultimately cost him the race. He did finish P2, though, which is his best finish all season. And with about 1:15 to go here, you'll see Snakebite go through turn 17. Dogleg left, high-speed corner. He does have enough time to start at least one more go here. And he is going to come into pit lane, so he is not going to set a lap time here, and that will do it for qualifying for Snakebite. Meanwhile, Oil Slick will come to the line, and it is a valid one, a 2:17.997. Good enough for 4th place currently. And just under 50 seconds to go here. And it's Finley will come across the line, goes from 2:18 or to a 2:18.602 rather. And Kicking Joe Mama a 2:18.577, and it looks like we've got a car around here. And a reset to garage. I believe that was the 27 of Bogey-Eyed Flea. And Oil Slick going to try it one more time as the session timer will hit 0 here. So we've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds before the session is officially in the books. Check in with Bubble and Panda here in the 71, a 2:17.672 on his last lap. No improvement. Still holds on to pole position though. And Oil Slick about 3.5 tenths and climbing here as he comes through the turn 12-13 chicane. Losing a little bit of time on exit, kind of about the middle of that chicane though, where he really started to lose that speed. 90 seconds and counting before the session is officially closed. No matter where you're at on circuit, the track will close and the session will advance. And starting to pick up a little bit of pace again, now just over 2.5 tenths up and climbing through turn 17, coming up to the final chicane here. We'll see if he can hold on to this. He found a little bit of pace through there, almost to 4.5 tenths, but now losing some on the acceleration on the exit. And he will cross the line with a 2:17.807. Number of drivers coming into pit lane. Sucka 509 currently P4 with a 2:17.832, but he's up about almost half a second here, and he will bump Oil Slick out of P2, and that's a 2:17.465. Meanwhile, Bubble and Panda with 30 seconds to go will exit the final corner here, and he may break into the 2:16s. And he does indeed. Bubble and Panda will take pole with a 2:16.927. Just like that, qualifying is in the books. That is going to do it for the qualifying session. We're going to take a short break unless you're Twitch Turbo or a subscriber here. That way we go ad-free to the end. And then our formation lap will be underway here in a few moments. For those of you that are subscribers or Twitch Turbo, thank you for the support as always and hanging out here with me. And really, the spots to watch here, I think, are going to be turn 1, obviously. However, turn 1 changes here because of the format for the circuit. And I believe that's just for the nation lap. Sorry, trying to sort some stuff out here. Eau Rouge will become the formation lap turn 1. Turn 1 for the race start will still be the same spot. Hairpin is tricky, especially in traffic. Any late braking or misjudgment by a car behind you or misjudging the car's braking point in front of you and expecting them to brake later rather than earlier. And you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt here. We've got 20 cars starting this race. It is a 45-minute race once the formation lap ends, so there's plenty of opportunities to make up any sort of time loss. However, heavy damage early in the race could make that time loss even that much more significant and a bigger impact. And looks like our temperature staying about the same, 15 degrees Celsius for the air temp, 21 degrees Celsius for the track surface. So formation lap about to get underway here. And we will wait for Bubblin' Panda to get us underway. There we go. And Bubblin' Panda will get us moving here. Thank you for the hydrate, Sonos. When I do commentary, I definitely have water and warm tea with me at all times. Actually, tea is a little too hot. We'll turn that down. Woo. So pretty much we have dubbed since last Friday just Spa Week at this point. Last Friday, if you followed myself or Buggy ARL in Le Mans Ultimate, raced at Spa for round 2 of the Sprint Series. Torque Racing is here tonight, and then the 24 hours of Spa on iRacing is this upcoming weekend. First split will be at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, July 11th. And that should be the split that I join, unless something changes between now and then. And if you don't already, make sure you do follow me on social media. I am on all the major platforms, X or Twitter, however you like to refer to it, Blue Sky, Threads, and Facebook, as well as Instagram. Instagram's the least updated, though, but X or Twitter and also the Blue Sky are probably and Facebook are the best options for the most up-to-date commentators' digits. Welcome back, Buggy. So we've tweaked the spectator view a little bit here this week. We've found some things that work and changed things. Hopefully, this will help us out here for tonight's race. And now the grid comes through turn 15, and we will see them stack up double file here to get this one started. Probably about turn 17, I'm guessing. And here we go, side by side, double stack on the race start, coming up to the final 2 corners here. So Bubble and Panda will lead us to the line with Sucka 509, Snakebite, and Oil Slick in tow. And we will go green for 45 minutes of racing here in Belgium. And a little out of sync here. And I think we are going to have one more go around here for a formation lap. Because we have gone past both opportunity lines. I don't know if the line's been moved, though. Let's see if this is the case, because we did line up over here on this straightaway. Do show the finish line, though, right there out of turn 19. No, we do have a different start position here, so we are green and going here. So Bubble and Panda through Eau Rouge will lead us up onto the Kemmel Straight. Sucka 509 in tow, Snakebite in third, Oil Slick in fourth, and HTI Danger in fifth to get things started here. And we will come into turn number 5 here in just a second, and things are going to get a little bit tricky. See some shuffling around there on the leaderboard. That'll sort itself out in just a moment, and it looks like Kickin' Joe Mama will go wide. They're at turn number 6, so he will fall back a couple spots now. Meanwhile, Bubble and Panda still holding on to the race lead. And now we get ready to start the descent here on the mountains of Belgium. And already 60 seconds into this one, so the first minute already elapsed as we now go through turn 10 and 11. The double left-hand corner down the hill. Feels like here in P4 in the 661 BMW, trying to find some pace here early. He had trouble in qualifying, and it took him about 3 laps to get a clean lap on the board. So we'll see if he can manage anything here as we start our race off pretty cleanly. Everybody getting through the entire opening lap relatively cleanly. Don't see any major spins. And checking in at the rear of the field, the 999 Porsche of Atomic Hippo in 20th. Now we will go into the final chicane for the first time this evening under green flag. And this is going to be one of the tricky spots. It looks like Oil Slick having some trouble there at the exit, going out very wide behind Sucka 509. And through what is traditionally turn number 1 here, that hairpin right-hand corner by pit lane. All things considered, a very clean start to this one here. One of the cleanest we've seen from Torque in quite a while. Let's go ahead and switch this up so we can get rid of the menu system for a moment. There we go. Let's see here, Bubble and Panda holding on to P1. The gap is building here. 1.8 second. There as he exits turn 7, now growing to 2 seconds. Sucka 509 just behind, still holding on to P2, and Oil Slick has moved up. Sunny, welcome into the chat, and thank you for the follow as well. Happy to see you here. Oil Slick has moved up to P3 just ahead of HTI Danger. Danger with its Finley right in tow, though. And you can see Finley trying to keep the pressure on as we now go through turn 16. The high-speed dogleg left of 17 now. Ooh, and a little too much curbing by Danger, but Finley goes out wide. Now we're going to come into the final chicane here. A little stacked up for these three, and you can see Kickin' Joe Mama right behind. And on board with Danger here as he tries to chase down Oil Slick just ahead of him as they go through Eau Rouge here, and you can see just how much of an elevation difference that is. Oil Slick about 4/10 ahead and closing. That slipstream is going to help him out quite a bit. See right behind him, it's Finley in the number 6 McLaren with the Mercedes of Kickin' Joe Mama in tow behind. Oh, and HTI Danger gets a little bit loose there coming out of turn number 7. Excuse me, turn 9, rather. Getting a little bit of that curbing in the back end trying to snap on him, but he holds on to it. See some separation starting to occur here. We've also had a few drivers go into pit lane as well. We've not had any retirements yet. Matty Ice holding on to P20 in pit lane at the moment. And then the number 3 BMW of Cool Whip has also lost a lot of pace here in 19th. And as I say that, we have an issue towards the front. That is the number 6 of It's Finley in the McLaren. And that is entering turn 14. He's going to drop all the way to 10th place now. Oh, and a battle ahead now between Oil Slick and HTI Danger. They were side by side going through the bus stop. Now 3 wide almost through the hairpin at turn 1. Oil Slick holding on to P4. Kickin' Joe Mama just behind. And HTI Danger just ahead 0.2 of a second as they head into Eau Rouge. Oh, and it looks like Oil Slick may have gotten a little too far to the inside and may have to slow down pace due to track limits. And Kickin' Joe Mama's going to take advantage of this. Side by side, a little door tap between the two of them at turn 5. You know, Sonus, I'm not 100% sure if the BOP is the same on console as it is on PC. They are technically 2 separate builds, so they may be slightly different. See, Oil Slick not wanting to give an inch here to Kickin' Joe Mama and has taken back the position. Meanwhile, back up front, Sucka 509 is starting to reel in Bubblin' Panda. The gap was over 2 seconds just a couple laps ago. Now it's almost half a second. Now through turn 14, that gap is starting to grow 0.8 of a second separating them. So we'll see if Panda can hold on or if the pressure is going to amount to something here. X, welcome in. I didn't see it pop in there. Great to hear the pedal plate is finally on its way. Kicking Joe Mama waiting for his PC to arrive on Thursday as well. Look at the times there. 218 versus a 217 between Sucka 509 and Bubble and Panda, favoring Sucka 509 there. So the slipstream definitely helping out. And the first 10 minutes have almost come and gone here. Just about 35 and a half minutes still to go of this 45-minute race. Check in with the battle for third, fourth, and fifth here. Looks like Oil Slick has faded back on Danger just a little bit here. About a second behind now, but Kickin' Joe Mama in the Mercedes keeping the pressure on, and a very good line by the 33 Mercedes into turn 5. Made up a little bit of time there on Oil Slick, but had to concede it so that he avoided contact. So definitely a good pace here. Check in a little bit further back here. Finley holding on to P10 still after his earlier incident, while he was battling for 4th and 5th at turn 14. He's got FHM J-Dog just behind him in the 85 Mercedes, and then a plethora of cars behind, including the 188 McLaren of the Natural, the 323 of Sensei Tiga, the 824 of Bonget, and the 169 of Azteca, all right there. And not far behind is the 999 of Atomic Hippo. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought it was Wednesday all day today as well. Oh, and looks like Azteca runs a little bit wide there at the exit of turn 15. Back in closer to the front here. Once again, Kickin' Joe Mama still trying to keep the pressure on, but he has gotten by Oil Slick and now looks to put the pressure on HTI Danger. The gap, though, to Danger ahead is 3 seconds coming into the hairpin. Oil Slick right there behind, and Bila Grill starting to close the gap as well. Unfortunately, no safety car. Actually, I don't think we've seen a full course caution with Torque Racing yet to date. And it looks like we've got the number 6 coming into pit lane now here. That is Finley, who will pit from P10. You can see some nose damage now. Just a little bit of unsettling between the front bumper and the hood. This will count as his mandatory pit stop. That is what that number 1 to the right of the driver number plate indicates. Matty Ice has already done his mandatory here, all the way back in P20 at the moment. Bubble and Panda is only about 13.5 seconds behind him currently on circuit for putting him a lap down. The gap for our leader now 1.2 seconds and climbing as I say that, as he will come up to turn number 12. And Sucka 509 still trying to chase him down. And looks like Panda currently holds the fastest lap of the race, a 2:17.507. The big question here with how long this circuit is, these cars can hold probably about 20 laps of fuel in total. And in 45 minutes, we'll see who decides to short fuel to save weight versus who tries to stay higher in fuel load and try to go the distance with just tires. And another lap in the books here. So 6 laps down, 31.5 minutes to go and counting. And HTI Danger now is holding on to P3, 5.2 seconds behind Succa and about 4 seconds ahead of Kickin' Joe Mama currently. And it looks like Oil Slick is starting to have some struggles here. Bila Grill has started to close the gap pretty significantly. And down the Kemmel straight towards turn 5 we go. And everyone's starting to kind of thin out here in the top 6 pretty well. And Finley has rejoined the circuit here in 20th and is now getting the blue flag for being a lap down. And he's already been lapped by the top 3. See what kind of pace he can hold on to, especially on the cooler tires. If he did change tires, those tires are going to be really cold here compared to what he was running. You can still see the gaps holding steady here. Kickin' Joe Mama a second behind Finley. And Succa 509 is reeled in Panda once again, almost a half a second back now. I'm wondering if Panda's having some troubles in a specific corner where Succa is able to just kind of take advantage of it, but we haven't seen him really get within half a second since the opening lap. And now 7 laps in the books and a 2:17.837 for Succa 509 and Bubblin' Panda with a 2:18.3. So about 5/10 separating the lap times roughly. However, Succa 509 has not been able to find the pace to make the overtake yet. Succa getting a little bit lucky there. The curbing through Eau Rouge can be very slippery. Got a little bit of it on the inside, but does manage to hold on to it nicely and maintains control. But he is also closing the gap. Oh, and a little bit of a slide through turn 5 there. And you can see that the GTR is really getting pushed to its limits here. A lot of kind of sliding and shifting around through 5, 6, 7. Holds on to it nicely through 8. We'll see what he does through 9 here. Gap now 4/10 of a second as we start the descent. And starts to get a little bit closer there. The braking time is a little bit different there. You can see the spot changes. Is a little bit closer to the corner for Succa 509 than it is for Bubblin' Panda. That's going to be one of the big differences between the GTR and the Mustang. Yeah, back to 7/10 now and growing to 8/10. Panda's definitely finding some good pace here. Looks like Succa lost a little bit of time through 15. One more curbing, and both of them are going to come into pit now, it looks like. So both Panda and Succa 509 will come into pit. The 78 Mustang of HTI Danger will also pit. And now a drive-through for track limits for the number 3. And that is Cool Whip. We actually saw pretty good pace out of in qualifying. And he has not serviced his mandatory pit stop yet. So the BMW, all the way back in 18th currently, will now have to go through pit lane within 3 laps without servicing the car. And then we'll have to service the car at a later time. Meanwhile, Oil Slick will inherit the lead now as he's gotten back in front of Kick and Joe Mama. So for the first time tonight, we have a lead change, and it goes to Oil Slick in the 661 BMW. See, Oil Slick does have some lap traffic in front of him. It's Finley a second and a half ahead and getting closer. Matty Ice has made his mandatory pit stop and is back on circuit in the 92. And Oil Slick will stay out for at least one more lap. And it looks like Kick and Joe Mama is going to come in now, and he will service the mandatory pit stop in the 33 Mercedes. Vila Grill will follow him. Coma Copa will stay out in the 72, and he will inherit second place here. And the 69 Ferrari of Snakebite, who we saw some decent pace out of in qualifying, now holds on to P5 at the moment, and he should take over about P3, I believe. No, actually, take that back. It does look like the 27 of Bogey-Eyed Flea is going to be scored in P3, so Snakebite will take over P4. Bogey-Eyed trying to chase down Coma Copa, 2 seconds separating the two of them. And with Kick and Joe Mama coming into pit lane, the gap between first and second is now just over 12 seconds. We have 23 minutes and 13 seconds still to go in the race. Ooh, and a very wide exit by Oil Slick there out of turn 9. And the gap to It's Finley, the next car ahead of him, who is a lap down, 2.3 seconds and growing to 2.4 as they now go through turn 12 and 13. And Oil Slick looks a little bit slow out of the exit of turn 13. I wonder if he is struggling for pace here or possibly grip, as we are now halfway through the race. And look at this. We have all three of the amateur drivers inside the top 10 currently. Bonget is in P5, Azteca P6, and Atomic Hippo in P7. They do still have the mandatory pit stops to make, but a solid first stint for them. We'll see how long they opt to stay out. Azteca is approximately 54 seconds ahead of Bubble and Panda, who was the race leader before pitting. Copa will now come in to service his mandatory. Meanwhile, Oil Slick and Bogey-Eyed Flea will stay out. And the gap between first and second will grow to 14.5 seconds now. And let's check in with our pole sitter and our primary race leader so far. Bubble and Panda in the 71. He's got Sucka 509, who was chasing him down before the pit stops, right in tow behind him, half a second as they go through turn 14 and 15 here. Gap staying at that half-second interval now. HTI Danger 9.3 seconds back from Succa. That was your top three before the mandatory pit stop started to come into play. Ooh, and a little bit of curbing there by Danger, and some dirt gets thrown around. Holds on to it nicely, kicking Joe Mama an additional 6.5 seconds behind Danger. Succa 509 still running about 2/10 on average faster than Panda right now. A 2:18.402, the end of the last lap for Succa 509. The end of the previous lap for Bubble and Panda, he had run a 2:18.695, so almost 0.3 of a second, favoring Succa. However, Panda has been able to really put the lap together to keep him at bay. Now less than 20 minutes to go, though, so the question is, can Panda hold on to this, or is Succa just trying to keep the pressure on? Oh, and Panda makes a mistake there, loses the back end a little bit at turn 5, and loses some pace. He saves it from going around completely, but doesn't save it from losing the pace entirely. And look at this gap now. 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, back to 3/10. See just how close this really is here from this aerial view. And it looks like Succa wisely backs out to avoid getting too far to the inside. And you can see on board here from Succa 509's point of view as he tries to chase down Panda here. Currently 4th and 5th for them as other drivers have started to pit officially. And Atomic Hippo has managed to find his way all the way to P3 and has come into pit. Bogey-Eyed Flea has come into pit as well. However, Oil Slick, our leader, still remains out. I do believe Oil Slick is going to be one of the last drivers to make the mandatory pit stop. Everybody else has either serviced the car or is already on pit lane. And we'll wait and see what the gap to Bubble and Panda looks like here as he and Succa are going through the hairpin corner at turn 1. Looks like Succa 509 has finally gotten ahead of Panda. The gap between Oil Slick and Succa is just shy of 90 seconds. So we may see Oil Slick come in at the end of this lap. If not this one, I would say the end of the next lap here. It is a very long pit lane, and he does opt to stay out. He's going to service the car very late here. Gap from 1st to 2nd at the moment, 81.5 seconds. For reference, Oil Slick is going through turn 1 at the hairpin, while Succa 509 and Bubble and Panda were exiting turn 9. Doing a very wide exit at turn number 10 for Succa, and Panda's going to take advantage of it. Doesn't have enough room for an overtake before the braking zone, though. And not something we've seen a ton of from Panda here, which is him chasing someone down. We have seen him put in the effort to chase people down, and it has always paid off in his favor pretty well. The question is, will it pay off here in Spa tonight? Succa has managed to maintain pace pretty well against him. Gap currently between Succa and Panda, 0.2 of a second. And it looks like Oil Slick has hit some traffic here. As they exit turn 19 for Succa and Panda, you've got Oil Slick, your leader, going into turn 10. I fully expect to see Oil Slick come in at the end of this one as he goes through turns 12 and 13 here. We'll watch from his perspective as we come up to 15.5 minutes to go in about 3 seconds. Onto the high-speed section here. No major worries of any lap traffic. The next car ahead of him is 16th, which is Azteca, about 3.5 seconds ahead. Looks like the gap to Succa has dropped to about 77 seconds now. And through 18 and 19, a little bit wide at the exit there at 18. And he will finally come in to service the car now. Succa 509 through turn 8 with Panda still in tow here. So 66.5 seconds there as they were braking for turn 10, separating first and second. This could be a huge opportunity for Oil Slick, but again, pit lane is extremely long here. It is the combined pit lane, so I did misspeak during qualifying. Oil Slick has officially made the turn. He has not made his stop in the box yet. He will enter the secondary section of pit lane. Meanwhile, Succa and Panda continue to battle coming up to turn 16. The gap now 40 seconds and closing. And Panda Oil Slick still not to the box here. Coming up to turn 18. Succa ahead by 0.4. Oil Slick finally in the box. Now they will chase down each other to turn 1. Where will Oil Slick get put out? Will the late pit pay off for him? I'm thinking he should have pit on the previous lap when the gap was still over 80 seconds. Oil Slick still stationary on pit lane there on the right, so Succa 509 will inherit the lead for the first time here. Just our third leader of the race. 13 minutes still to go, and Panda is right there in tow. The slipstream is going to come into huge play here on the Kemmel Straight. 1/10 is separating them. Panda looks to the inside. Backs out a little early break there. Now through 5 and 6. And they don't have anybody to worry about. The next car ahead of them is the Natural in 18th, 63 seconds ahead right now. So they've got a lot of open track. Solid line by Succa through turn 8. And now into turn 10 on the descent we go. The double left-hand apex here. Very high speed, very tricky to hold the line. It's like both of them holding on decently through there. Bubble and Panda with a slight advantage. Now starting to close the gap as we go through 12 and 13. Oh, and Succa goes wide at the exit of 13. Hits a little bit of the rumble strip. Yeah, 0.4 of a second as they exit turn 15. The next section here, another high speed slipstream can play huge factors here. And now 0.2 as they come into turn 17. And now at the end of the 14th lap, Succa 509 still holds in the lead. Panda may have just over accelerated a little too much there. And the difference in the lap time Not even a full 4/10 of a second. Excuse me, not even a full 400ths of a second. Is still in tow here as they go through Eau Rouge. The gap half a second. Let's check in on Oil Slick, who has now fallen to P4 and is chasing down Kickin' Joe Mama. The gap 0.6 of a second here for the 3rd and 4th place battle. 5th place, Bila Grill, just shy of 9 seconds behind them. Well, back up front here is Panda starting to reel in Sucka. The gap 0.3 now as they go through 5 and 6. We start the descent once again here at turn 9, or excuse me, turn 8, going into turn 9. It becomes very noticeable at the exit of turn 9 here. A downward slope. 0.2 of a second at the exit. And we are coming up on the final 10 minutes here. We saw Panda trailing last week in Spain behind Oil Slick. The gap favoring Oil Slick last week. The gap favoring Sucka this week. However, last week, Panda was able to come out ahead. This week, though, Sucka and Panda pitted on the same lap. Last week, Oil Slick had pitted significantly later due to an incident that Panda was wrapped up in earlier in the race. Panda still holds on to the fastest lap of the race currently at 2:17.507. Both of them at the end of the last lap running at 2:18.3s. The end of this lap, Sucka will run a 2:18.1. Panda runs a 2:18.0. The gap almost a full 0.02 of a second separating them, favoring Panda. We were seeing that a lot before they swapped positions as well. When Sucka was in tow, he was able to use that slipstream, was running faster laps, but could not find a way around Panda ahead. But now the gap is growing here, 0.6 as they go through Eau Rouge. Looks like Sucka has a solid run here. You can see the top left, his lap time showing he has picked up a little bit of pace here. Not quite a full 10th yet. Now coming up to 8 minutes to go. Gap at 0.5 now. So half a second separating first and second. The gap starting to close again. So 2 big battles here really starting to unfold for the top 4 positions. First and second battling 0.4 of a second separating them. Meanwhile, back in 3rd and 4th, Kickin' Joe Mama and Oil Slick battling. Half a second separates them. And Sucka will run out a little wide there again at the exit of 13. We've seen him do that a couple of times. However, he is up on his lap time here, so he's looking a bit quicker. The gap to Panda behind 0.4 at the moment. And he is almost 3 full tenths ahead on his lap time. Meanwhile, Panda has found some pace. He's almost 0.2 up on his lap time. So we'll see what this looks like at the line. It's going to be a close one. 0.2 separating them at the moment as Sucka gets a little too much curb there and kicks up some dirt, but he holds onto the car as they come into the braking zone for the final chicane. 2:18.082 for Sucka versus a 2:18.042 for Panda. Exactly 0.04 of a second separating them on the lap time. This has turned into quite a battle here late in this one. Onto the Camel they go. The gap 0.2 of a second and closing. The slipstream, will it be enough here for Pandas? He looks to the inside. He'll get on the brakes a little bit earlier than Sucka though. And Sucka goes deep. He goes a little too late on the brakes, and now Panda looks to the inside at the exit of turn 6. Not enough momentum though. And that could have been a very key pivotal point, but Sucka and Panda keep it clean. Meanwhile, Oil Slick and Kick and Joe Mama now go through turn 5 and 6 here. Oh, and Kick and Joe Mama may have just cut the corner a little bit there. Very high on that curbing in that Mercedes. And Panda will get the lead back here. Coming into turn 10, gets a run on Sucka out of 9. And the Mustang finds his way back out front with just over 5 minutes to go now. I don't know that we're done with this battle for the lead yet here. We will likely have at least 2 laps to go at the line here. We'll see what the timer looks like. Gap starting to grow, favoring Panda out front. 6/10 now as they come out of turn 15. Behind them, Kick and Joe Mama starting to grow the gap to Oil Slick behind 9/10. You've seen Oil Slick struggling here a little bit tonight. He has led a number of laps, though, after the mandatory pit stop started to come into play. Will the pit strategy pay off for him, though, with the fresher tires? And back up front, it looks like Panda has a little bit of trouble getting out of the final corner there. 220.040 versus 220.832, favoring Panda. A little wide there onto the curbing. That could have lost a little bit of momentum as a result. The gap is closing as they get ready to go through Eau Rouge here. 1/10 separating first and second. Oh, and Sucka cuts into the inside of the chicane there, coming up the hill. Sucka looking to the inside here, coming up to turn 5. And will back out behind Panda and tuck in. And Oil Slick gets a drive-through penalty for track limits, and that is going to hurt his chances of finishing on the podium here. Only 3.5 minutes to go, and he has to service the penalty before the end of the race. And at the end of this one, we will likely be 1 to go as Sucka 509 has reclaimed the lead. You see Panda here trailing behind the GTR once again. Looks like Panda gets a little bit of a better run out of 13 on Sucka. That is one spot that we've seen Sucka really struggling with in the last few laps. And coming up to turn 16 here, 4/10 separating first and second. We'll come up to the final chicane here. 34 still out front. 2 minutes to go here as they exit the corner. So this should be the white flag this time by. And there it is indeed. Final lap for the leaders. It is now or never. Do or die for Panda. This should solidify a podium for Kick and Joe Mama with the drive-through for Oil Slick, who has come into pit lane to service that penalty. The gap from from second to third, 16 seconds. So we'll take a look and see how this one plays out as they are now on the Camel Straight heading to turn 5 for the final time tonight. Gap coming into the apex of the corner, 3/10 and closing. Panda with a solid pace there. Now the gap grows to 5/10. And it looks like Panda may have gone a little too deep into that corner, missing his braking point. Gap remains 4/10 as they exit turn 9. Slipstream coming into play just a little bit here, coming up to turn 10. See here from the helicopter camera just what that looks like distance-wise. Now through 12 and 13. Oil Slick will rejoin the race after clearing his drive-through penalty now. The leaders coming into turn 14, the gap 0.5 of a second. Unless Sucka 509 makes a mistake or Panda gets one heck of a run here coming into the final chicane, I think we're going to see Sucka 509 take the checkered flag from him. The gap closing 0.2 of a second now. Turn 17. Still closing the gap here. Panda looks to the inside, but doesn't have enough. Losing a little bit of time here. He tries to switch back. And this is going to go to Sucka 509 as he will cross the line about 0.3 ahead of Panda. And Panda, who starts on pole, will take second. Meanwhile, rounding out the podium here, the 33 Mercedes of Kick and Joe Mama will exit turn 19. And he will have a breathable final lap here as Oil Slick had to service the penalty. So Kick and Joe Mama takes P3. Pilot Grill now exits turn 19 by himself in the 98 Mustang to take P4 as he crosses the line. Bogey-Eyed Flea just about 2.5 seconds here ahead of Snakebite. And Bogey-Eyed Flea will find himself rounding out the top 5, followed by the 69 Ferrari of Snakebite. Coma Copa in the 72 Porsche now comes across in 7th. And look at this, the 187 Mustang of Pale Batman now through the final corner will take P8. And a little bit of a battle here as Finley has managed to climb back to P9, just ahead of FHM J-Dog. Matty Ice in the 92 Lexus will take 11th. Sensei Tiga will take 12th here in the 323 McLaren. And Azteca will lead the AM drivers across the line in the 169. And the only drivers still running here are Senna 509 and the Natural. They are separated by just about 3 seconds here for 16th and 17th. And coming up to the bus stop for the final time here, the final 2 cars, the number 12 Porsche and the 188 McLaren. Senna 509 will take P16 and the Natural will take P17 here, and that will wrap it up in Spa. Panda will take fast lap of the race. Not a huge surprise there after starting on pole. He finishes second as we watch the Natural ram into the wall. Sucka 509 takes the win by just under 0.3 of a second there. Kick and Joe Mama P3 for your top 3 with that. Race 2 in Spa of 3 for Spa week is now in the books. We will be back. I'll be back on Friday with the 24 hours of Spa. And then next Tuesday, Torque Racing will close out the current season. Let me double check where we're going next week because I don't recall. So next week we close out the current season with the 10th and final race. And it is going to be at Silverstone, and it is double points. So the points battle is still up for grabs here, and we'll see who can take it. Panda has pretty much secured the championship, though, overall, even after taking second place tonight. With that, though, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for the new followers, and welcome into the channel as always. And again, Buggy, thank you for the resub as well. With that, have yourselves a great rest of your evening. I will see you Friday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern time for the 24 hours of Spa on iRacing. Have yourselves a great rest of your night. Enjoy some gaming out there and stay safe.